The forest whispered under the pale light of the moon, its silver beams cutting through the thick mist like blades. Ilara's boots sank into the damp soil as she walked, every step measured, careful. The villagers had warned her never to go deep into the silverwood, but curiosity had always been stronger than caution. Tales of old magic, of kings and monsters had called to her since childhood, and tonight she followed that call. Branches reached for her like skeletal fingers, their shadows twisting across her path. The air smelled of wet earth and something sharper, older, a scent she could not name. Ilara's heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement. She was alone, yet she did not feel lonely. The forest had a presence, watching, waiting. It was in a clearing, surrounded by crumbling stone walls etched with faded runes, that she found him. A wolf larger than any she had ever seen lay chained to an iron post. The chains were not ordinary. They shimmered silver, cold and unyielding, engraved with symbols that seemed to pulse in the moonlight. The wolf's golden eyes burned through the night, filled with pain and fury. Every breath he took sounded like a growl of both anger and sorrow. Ilara froze. Legends spoke of the wolf of Silverwood, a king cursed into a beast, bound by magic stronger than steel. Most villagers claimed he was a monster, that anyone who approached would be devoured. Yet as she looked into his eyes, she did not see a monster. She saw loneliness. She saw longing. She saw injustice. Her hands trembled, but she stepped forward. "I won't hurt you," she whispered, more to herself than to the beast. "I only want to help." The wolf's ears twitched. He growled, low and warning, yet he did not move away. Ilara studied the chains, tracing the runes with her fingers. They hummed faintly, a sound like sorrow itself. She knew this was more than metal. It was a spell. "You've been here too long," she said softly. "You don't belong in chains." For a moment, the forest held its breath. Then, as if guided by some invisible hand, her fingers found the weak point in the silver bindings. One by one, the links began to break under her touch, silver sparks flying into the air. The wolf's growl rose into a howl, a sound that shook the clearing and made the trees sway. When the final chain shattered, the wolf collapsed to his paws, breathing heavily. Ilara took a cautious step back. And then, before her eyes, the impossible happened. The fur melted into shadows, limbs lengthened and reshaped, muscles twisting and forming into a figure both terrifying and breathtaking. Golden eyes remained, now framed by a face that was strong, regal, and impossibly beautiful. The Alpha King, the human form of the cursed wolf legend. His hair was black as midnight, his gaze fierce and unyielding. "You," he said, voice low, almost a growl. "You freed me." Ilara swallowed, unsure if she should step forward or run. I couldn't leave you like that," she said. Her voice trembled. "No one deserves to be chained like that." He studied her, eyes narrowing. "Most would have run. Most would have left me to rot." There was a strange mixture of anger and curiosity in his tone. "Why did you stay?" Ilara met his gaze, feeling a pull she could not explain. "Because I believe freedom is worth the risk." The Alpha King, Kalen, as she later learned, stepped closer. His presence was overwhelming, like standing at the edge of a storm. Yet there was a strange warmth beneath his power, a softness that only she could sense. "You are brave," he said. "Or foolish." His lips curved slightly, a ghost of a smile. "Perhaps both." Ilara dared a small smile back. "Maybe, but I have learned that fear is no reason to ignore what is right." Kalen's eyes softened, just for a moment. Then the sound of cracking branches and distant shouts shattered the fragile calm. Ilara's heart jumped. "What's happening?" she asked. "The sorcerer," Kalen said, voice low and dangerous. "He knows you freed me. He will come for us both." Ilara's breath caught. The stories of the sorcerer were dark and terrifying. He was said to command shadow armies, to twist magic to destroy all who opposed him. "Then what do we do?" Kalen looked toward the forest's edge, muscles tensing. "We run, we hide, and we prepare. You do not know the half of what this curse holds." Ilara nodded, fear and excitement mingling inside her. She had freed him, and now she was part of his world. Dangerous, magical, and intoxicating. As they moved through the misty forest, Kalen occasionally glanced at her, his golden eyes unreadable. There was respect there and something else, something unspoken, like a thread slowly tying their fates together. Ilara noticed it, her heart fluttering despite the danger surrounding them. They came to a small river, the water dark under the moonlight. Kalen knelt beside it, touching the water with careful fingers. "This river," he murmured, "has seen centuries of battles of broken kings and cursed beasts. It will shield us if we are careful." Elara watched him. There was a sadness in his movements, a weariness that even his power could not hide. "You've carried this alone for so long," she said softly. Kalen turned, studying her. "Alone, yes. That is the curse." His voice was low, almost sorrowful. "Trust is dangerous. Bonds are dangerous. Yet somehow I feel compelled to protect you." Elara felt a shiver run down her spine. The weight of his words, the intensity of his gaze made her pulse quicken. She had freed him, but in doing so, she had stepped into a world of shadows and power she barely understood, and yet she did not regret it. Suddenly a sound broke the fragile peace, a scream, distant but chilling. Elara spun, eyes wide. Kalen's form shifted in an instant, his wolf instincts taking over. His movements were fluid, precise, and terrifyingly beautiful. He led her through the forest with a speed that left her breathless. The danger was near. The sorcerer's minions were closing in. Elara's hand brushed Kalen's arm, and for a moment everything else faded. The fear, the shadows, the cold night. There was only the heat of his body, the strength in his hand guiding her, and the knowledge that their fates were now bound together. They reached a small ruin, hidden beneath overgrown vines. Kalen pushed her inside, his golden eyes scanning every shadow. "Stay here," he said, voice low and commanding. "Do not move," Elara nodded, heart pounding. She crouched behind a broken pillar, trying to catch her breath. She watched as Kalen stepped into the clearing, shifting fully into his wolf form. His fur shimmered in the moonlight, silver streaks glinting like the chains that had bound him. His howl echoed across the forest, a sound of fury, freedom, and warning all at once. The enemy came. Dark figures moved through the mist, but Kalen met them without fear. He was a storm, a predator, a king. Elara's chest tightened as she realized she was witnessing not just a beast, but a ruler powerful beyond imagination, fighting to protect what he now considered his own. Then, the figures faltered, hesitation in their movements. Kalen's presence, his strength, his very being, seemed to twist the night itself. And then, in the chaos, he turned to her, eyes meeting hers. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Fear mixed with desire, awe mixed with trust, and the bond of freedom intertwined with something deeper, something neither fully understood yet. The night stretched on, filled with the sounds of battle, the rustle of the forest, and the distant hum of ancient magic awakening. And when the dust settled, Kalen returned to her side, shifting back into human form. His chest rose and fell with exertion, eyes softening as they met hers. "You freed me," he said quietly, voice a mix of awe and something tender. "And now?"
"I am yours, whether you will it or not." Elara's heart leapt.
She had not expected this. She had freed a beast, a king, and now he claimed her. Not with chains, not with force, but with something far more powerful. The raw, unshakable bond of trust and choice. The forest fell silent, save for the distant sounds of retreating shadows. The moonlight painted them both in silver, the ruined temple behind them a testament to the night's trials. Yet even in victory, Elara knew this was only the beginning. The sorcerer's wrath would return, and when it did, both she and Kalen would face darkness neither could escape alone. And as they stood together, the forest around them alive with whispers, one thought burned in Elara's mind. She had freed a wolf bound in silver chains, and now she was bound to the Alpha King in ways she had never imagined. The night held its breath, and so did she. Dawn broke over the silverwood with a soft light, pale and trembling, as if the forest itself had barely survived the night. Elara sat at the edge of the hidden clearing, her knees pulled close to her chest, watching Kalen move silently among the shadows. Though he had returned to human form, his every movement carried the grace and strength of the beast he had been. "The sorcerer will not give up," Kalen said, his voice low and steady, carrying the weight of centuries. "He knows what you have done, and he will come for us. We cannot wait. We must act." Elara nodded, though fear tightened her chest. "Then we fight. But not blindly. There must be a way to protect both your people and the forest." Kalen's gaze softened. "You think like a true leader, not just a free spirit. That is why I chose to claim you." He stepped closer, sunlight catching the edge of his hair, and for a moment she felt the pull of something deeper than gratitude or curiosity. something that reached into the very marrow of her soul. They moved together through the forest, traveling paths hidden to ordinary eyes. Kaelin taught her the signs of danger, how to read the whisper of leaves, the scent of approaching shadows. Every lesson, every step drew them closer. And though neither spoke of it, the bond that had begun in chains now grew in trust and something far more tender. A connection neither fully understood, but could not deny. By midday, they reached the heart of Kaelin's hidden kingdom, a place of silver streams, towering cliffs, and ruins of a civilization older than the forest itself. Here his people, the wolf tribe, waited. They emerged from the shadows, cautious, eyes bright with both awe and suspicion. Their leader had returned, yet he brought a human woman at his side. "Kaelin," one elder said, voice trembling, "we feared you lost to the curse forever." "I was bound," Kaelin said, "but I am free, and so is she. And together we will face the sorcerer who threatens us all." Alara stepped forward, her hands trembling, yet her voice clear. "I am not a threat. I only wish to help." The tribe watched her warily, but Kaelin's golden eyes never left hers. In that gaze was protection, promise, and the quiet declaration of a claim that went beyond ownership. It was trust. It was bond. It was love in the language of survival and devotion, but peace did not last. By nightfall, dark clouds gathered, carrying with them the stench of shadow magic. The sorcerer had arrived, his army cloaked in black mist, moving like living shadows. Kaelin turned to Alara. "Stay close. Do not let go." Alara nodded, her heart pounding, though she did not cower. She had chosen this path. She would stand beside him, whatever came. The battle began under the full moon. Kaelin shifted into his wolf form, his body a blur of fur and strength. He leapt into the enemy ranks with precision, tearing through shadows that moved like smoke yet struck with deadly force. Alara stayed behind at first, using the knowledge Kaelin had taught her. She guided the tribe, setting traps and warning them of dangers, her courage shining even in fear. Kaelin's movements were poetry in motion, a storm of power and grace. Yet as he fought, he caught sight of Alara's figure among the ruins, guiding his people fearless. His golden eyes softened. She was not helpless. She was not just a companion. She was his equal, his chosen, the one who had freed him not only from chains but from isolation and sorrow. At the climax of the battle, the sorcerer emerged from the shadows, his face hidden, hands glowing with black magic. He raised a spell that could have ended everything in an instant. Kaelin shifted back to human form in a blink, standing between the spell and Alara. "You cannot protect her forever," the sorcerer sneered. Kaelin's eyes blazed. "I do not protect her because I must. I protect her because I choose to. And I am not alone." Alara stepped forward, placing a hand on his chest. "Together," she whispered. "We are stronger together." The sorcerer laughed, and the ground shook with dark energy. But Kaelin's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. And in that moment, something unexpected happened. The remnants of his curse, the silver threads in his veins, responded to her touch. Light, soft and golden, spread through him, weakening the sorcerer's spell. The sorcerer recoiled, fury breaking across his features. He unleashed a wave of shadows, but Kaelin and Alara moved as one. The Alpha King's power and the woman who had freed him combined, creating a force neither darkness nor fear could withstand. The army of shadows faltered, then vanished into nothingness, leaving the forest trembling but alive. When silence fell, Kaelin dropped to his knees, exhausted. Alara rushed to his side, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You're safe," she said softly. "No," he whispered, shaking his head, golden eyes bright with emotion. "We are safe. Because of you. Not just because of my strength, but because of your courage." Alara smiled, heart racing. She had freed a king, faced darkness, and now stood beside him, equal in danger, equal in triumph. She had never imagined a bond could feel so fierce, so tender, so absolute. Kaelin rose, brushing silver leaves from his shoulders. He looked at her, his gaze steady, unyielding. "Alara," he said, voice low, filled with something that went beyond words. "I claimed you the night I shifted. Not because you were weak or because you needed me. I claimed you because you see me. Not as a monster, not as a king, but as myself. And now, I cannot imagine a life without you at my side." Ilara's breath caught. I feel the same," she admitted, voice trembling. "I did not know what I would find when I freed you. But I did not regret it, not for a moment, and I choose you, Kaelin." He stepped closer, golden eyes reflecting the moonlight, the ruins, the forest, and the weight of their shared battle. Then you are mine in every way that matters. Not chains, not force. By choice, by bond, by heart. They stood together in the ruins, moonlight casting them in silver and shadow. The forest seemed to sigh around them, alive with the echoes of ancient magic, of kings and curses, of battles won and lives forever changed. Kalen shifted briefly into his wolf form, circling her once, a gesture of protection and ceremony, then returned to human form. You freed me, he whispered, voice thick with emotion, and in doing so you bound yourself to my heart. Nothing will break that. Nothing can. Ilara reached for him, her fingers brushing against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the pulse of the man she had come to know, to trust, and to love. Then let us face everything together, she said. The night grew quiet again, the danger of the sorcerer's army gone, but the forest still alive with whispers. Kalen and Ilara sat together by the ruins, talking, learning each other's fears and dreams, the bond between them deepening with every shared word, every glance, every touch. Though the immediate threat had passed, both knew that darkness could rise again. Yet in that knowledge was no fear. They were no longer alone. They were bound together, stronger than curses, stronger than shadows, and stronger than any force that might seek to tear them apart. As dawn's first light touched the treetops, Kalen looked at Ilara, golden eyes shining with emotion. We are more than survival, he said softly. We are trust, courage, and hope. And together, nothing can stand against us. Ilara leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his presence, the power of his protection, and the tenderness of his claim. Then let us live like that, she whispered, and face whatever comes, together. The forest held its breath around them, ancient and eternal, as if acknowledging their bond, as if the silver wood itself had chosen them. And though the world beyond might still be dark and dangerous in that hidden kingdom, in that moment, they were free, free in heart, free in choice, and bound in a bond that neither chains nor curses could ever break. And so, the Alpha King and the woman who had freed him began a new chapter. One born of courage, shaped by darkness and sealed with the trust of two hearts that had found each other in a world of shadows. The night had tested them. The forest had whispered their story, and the bond between a king and the woman who had freed him would echo through the silver wood for all time.